got a pump down in that tote that collects the sap from all these lines and fills into that tank. And then when that tank gets enough in there to pump out, there's a pump on the front connected to this blue hose that runs up to the evaporator, which is right over here. And that hose pumps it into this tank, which you can see has about 200 gallons in it as we speak. Light bulb is flashing. We're just about at temperature for it to draw off. When the light bulb goes on constant, then the valve will open and syrup will start pouring out. A huge thanks on these plastic pallets. Last year I was chomping around in mud the whole time. These pallets, while slightly wobbly, make a great platform that keep me out of the mud. And then we have the reverse osmosis system. So that blue hose pumps it up into the tank. Then from the tank, let's see here, it comes out and into this hose, which feeds the pump. And then there's a 5 micron pre-filter, a pressure gauge, and then 3 reverse osmosis membranes. From one of the outputs on those, there's a shutoff valve, which we restrict way down to get approximately 135 to 140 psi, and that forces much of the water out of the sap, and what remains is just concentrated sap, which goes up in that tank, runs down this hose as needed. And here we have what's called a float box with a bunch of stuff on top of it. You can see the sap starting to dribble in here. As this float drops down, as sap evaporates, this thing automatically lets more sap in to keep it at a constant level. In this case, I'm boiling at just over 1.5 inches deep. The reverse osmosis conveniently goes into the downspout over here, and you can see the pure water that at this point is just getting funneled through an underground pipe out into the woods. And the system here, as you can see, the ball valve, the light just is going on and off, and we just get a slow trickle. And once it's on, then you get a little bit longer trickle as it stays open, and we just do a long, slow draw. And when it's time to refuel the fire, there's a switch here to turn the blower off, open the door, and you can see how orange that is. It is definitely hot in there. And normally I wear gloves, but I can't hold the camera with big welding gloves on. Turn the valve or the switch back on, and we're back to boiling. So there's some questions I get asked about the pan. There's dividers, so that sap comes in through the hose into this float box here, and from the float box that enters this first channel, you can see a bunch of impurities and minerals and things like that foam up at the very beginning. As it boils, it continues down this first channel, and there's actually a small hole in the divider right down there that allows it to flow into the second channel. And then similarly on the other end, there's a small one that allows it to flow into the third channel. And what this does is it really basically creates one real long narrow pan, so that as you travel down the pan, the sugar content increases, the fresh sap pushes the more concentrated sap down, which evaporates off more, creating more concentrate, which pushes down the center one, and then that evaporates more and pushes down the final one. And then when we get to down here, there's actually a small temperature probe that goes in there and connects to the control box. So we're at 218.7. It bounces around a little bit. And then the temperature of the exhaust gas is at around 288 something. So you can see we're at 288. I just charged it with a fresh load of wood, so it'll take a few minutes before it'll start ripping again, and we'll get up to almost 1,000. And here we are once we get to 3.3 degrees over 118.5. That's when the light bulb and the valve open. So that is the process we have going on here.